Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my Europa League predictions this season. I already predicted the Champions League. If you want to go watch that as well, I'll leave a link in the description. But this one by no means is going to be easier. The deeper down you go in these UEFA competitions, the more unpredictability there probably will be. This tournament honestly seems like there could be a more level playing field than the Champions League. But as always, let me know where I went wrong in the comments below, and don't forget to leave an early like and subscribe if you're new. But man, this new league phase, like I said in the Champions League video, I really don't like it at the beginning just because these prediction videos are an absolute headache to make. They're way more simple when they're in many different groups, but obviously once the tournament actually kicks off, I'll appreciate it a lot more as there's going to be so much chaos. The Europa League phase last season, so many things were down to the wire in terms of teams sharing points. So of course I won't be surprised if I get most of this wrong, but let's start off with the elimination zone. Going from bottom to top, so the bottom three teams, I've got Bran, Maccabi Tel Aviv, and Go Ahead Eagles. Bran is one of the most bland and oddly shaped badges I've ever seen, but of course that's not why I'm putting them so low. This is actually the first time the Norwegian club has qualified for a European tournament in nearly 20 years. And they are quite deep into the season in Eliteserien, but a decent point gap from the proper title race. This club have had some significant departures, but at the same time are one of the most consistent clubs in Norway. Being in top flight football for most of the league's history, second out of any club. They might have what it takes to get 1, 2, or 3 good results here. I wouldn't say their draw is horrible, but they are certainly not the favorites in most of these fixtures. Sorry, Bran, best of luck. I hope I'm wrong, but you're one of the biggest clubs I'm ruling out. Moving on to Maccabi Tel Aviv. This team is actually amongst the least valuable of all the Europa League clubs. Last season, they were also in the Europa League's first ever league phase and did a bit better than I'm predicting them to do now, but not by much. They did salvage 2 wins, but this time, I'm not sure how many they can get. Their draw looks way too difficult. As a Dinamo Zagreb fan, them or Midtjylland might look more doable on paper, but I still think this side will struggle to get many victories this season. 1 or 2 max, just like last season, which is why I'm predicting them to go out so early. They do have some interesting players, don't want to fully rule them out, but some massive departures, including Wesley Patati going to AZ. Now with Go Ahead Eagles, this one could age really terribly, but I don't see them doing much in this competition. Shout out to them for ending their 92-year trophy drought last season. Would love to see a great underdog story from them here. But this is their debut in the Europa League, and with their lack of experience and also poor squad on paper compared to the rest of the teams in this competition, I don't think it's going to end very well. Not to mention they haven't had the best start to this season, only picking up their first win this weekend, their first in 5 matches. All their opponents have had much more experience in European competitions, some with poor recent resumes, but I'm sorry to any fan of this Dutch club, in my opinion, it will be too hard. Not to mention their Finnish winger Antman, who got incredible assist numbers last season, has gone off to Rangers. The next set of teams I'll be placing so low are Malmo, Ludogorets, and Young Boys. Now Malmo, just like Maccabi Tel Aviv, were in the competition last season and they only picked up 1 win, and in fact did worse than the Israeli club. The Swedish side randomly have their bursts of brilliance. They can be unpredictable and catch many teams off guard, as they have a lot of great gems here, but their main forward from Norway, Botheim, will be injured until December most likely. Their goalkeeper Olsen, I feel like, can be quite inconsistent and randomly make too many errors. It's not a terrible draw, one where they can prove their worth, but I still see them falling short in most of these fixtures. Could see them doing better than this position in particular, but regardless, I would be a bit surprised if they do not get eliminated in the league phase. Ludogorets is the most successful Bulgarian club. They have been domestic champions 14 consecutive times, which is unheard of in most countries. They always add a new exciting pace to the game, but still often fall short in European football. Last season, they finished close to this position, not getting a single win, but a few admirable draws against some top teams. That's what I see happening again, something similar. They are a brave, unfazed club, but unfortunate mistakes and composure could cost them. We'll see if I'm wrong, though. The schedule is quite tricky, but I feel like they might be able to hold off some of these bigger clubs to draws, similar to how they've done before. Moving on to Young Boys now. Obviously a more intense competition, but Young Boys were one of the 2 teams to get 8 for 8 losses last season in the Champions League. And with the quality drop from Champions League to Europa League, they could definitely impress in this competition. But right now, their most valuable player, Alvin Sanchez, will be out injured most likely until early November. Their goalkeeper, Marvin Keller, really proved himself domestically last season, though. In terms of their draw, it really could go either way with 5 or 6 of these clubs, but those pot 1 and 2 teams they got drawn with won't be fun to deal with. All right, from here on out now, I'm going to go one by one in case I change my mind mid-recording. At 30th place, I'm picking another Dutch club. I'm sorry, Utrecht, but this is your first Europa League qualification since the 2010-11 season, where you also got grouped there, but to be fair, it was a difficult one. Now, out of the 2 Dutch clubs I am underestimating, I would be less surprised if I get this one wrong in particular, as unlike Go Ahead Eagles, they have a much more convincing squad on the surface. They've just acquired Haller from Free from Dortmund, but they are suffering quite a lot of injuries right now, not sure on the return dates for some of their midfield. Really cool team though. We've got the Iraqi Zidane on here as well. Youngster Zekiel in the midfield as well on loan from Feyenoord. But yeah, what a schedule for them, man. I really think Porto will be a serious threat this season. Real Betis, I think, are also going to be one of the most dangerous sides in the competition. Nottingham Forest. They could sneak in a few wins, but I still don't think it will be enough for the Dutch side. I'm sorry to the Netherlands. Please don't send me these kind of comments again. 29th place might be a surprising pick for some, but I'm going with Red Bull Salzburg. They're an incredibly successful club in Austria. However, they have not looked the same the past few years. They seem to lack their spark, especially in the last Champions League campaign, losing some matches they should have gained points in, also failed to win the domestic league. This club's identity always invests in young talent, but a few players in particular have proven to be injury prone, including their main striker Konate. The worst part though is their schedule. Very tough opponents, 4 out of 8 of them being in top 5 leagues. Adding Porto to the mix of that, honestly, I just don't see them capitalizing against most of these teams. They went toe-to-toe with Club Brugge in the UCL qualifiers, but still, I just don't buy that they'll do so well this time, just like last season in the Champions League. Moving on to 28th place, I have gone for Crvena Zvezda. Now, a lot of people that are fans of this club might be very optimistic for them this season. Similar to Ludogorets, this club constantly dominates domestically. Not too long ago, they even finished invincible in the Serbian Superliga. Great identity within this club though. Kataj still going strong at 34. Their captain Ivanic as well. And now a reason why I feel like fans might be optimistic, as they do have the Austrian legend with Serbian roots. Of course, Marko Arnautovic, who just came to the club. They still have other attackers to rely on as well, like Bruno Duarte, and great winger options like Radonjic. And one of their bigger signings could come in clutch, Thomas Handel from Portugal. I feel like I've said this a lot already. Really would not be surprised if this club proves me wrong, but just based off of their recent history, I feel like it's still not going to go so well for them. Maybe they can just scrape through, but I think it's safer to put them in elimination zone. And I'm not a huge fan of their schedule. 2 Portuguese clubs, which I have good belief in this season. We'll obviously get into them later. Honestly, could see them getting 9 or 10 points and pushing themselves up on the table, but still going to put Crvena Zvezda in elimination zone. Moving on to the clubs that are only just heartbroken in elimination zone. At 27th place, I have gone for SK Sturm Graz. The Austrian club was on that final stage of Champions League qualification, but they got hammered by the Bodo Glimt, especially in that first leg. They have been a regular participant in recent European tournaments, but always seem to just fall short despite having some great efforts. 4th place in the Europa League group stage twice in a row, 3rd in 2023, which got them demoted to the Conference League, where they got knocked out in the round of 16, and now last season 30th in the Champions League phase. Unfortunately, I do think they'll be knocked out again, just like they were in the Champions League, but I'm bumping them a bit higher compared to their Champions League standings last season, because I actually don't think their draw is that bad. You can't make a case that Rangers have been disappointing lately. Crvena Zvezda at home is much better than traveling there. Celtic couldn't even defeat Karat. Midtjylland and Braun could be obtainable victories. Really underrated squad with the likes of Georgian Kiteshvili, to a few Slovenian gems like Horvat and Stankovic. And getting the youngster from Leverkusen on loan as well this season, Orman, to strengthen the back line. Honestly, I rate their schedule and I rate this side, but it feels like in the history of SK Sturm Graz, they get knocked out in European competitions too early. I see them picking up too many draws, resulting in them failing to progress, but we shall see. Now, one team that did quite well last time, but I see falling short this time around, is Victoria Plzen. Right off the bat, the main reason why I am doubting this side to progress is because their schedule looks insanely tough for the most part. Despite Burnley legend Vidra turning up and containing an underrated back line with the likes of Markovic, they lost some great players over the years, including recently Pavel Sulc to Lyon. They can get some of the bigger teams to draw points, but at the end, I still don't think it will be enough. But the final team I'm saying gets heartbroken in the Europa League phase is Schenk. I wanted to be more optimistic for this side, and you know what? Based off of their schedule, I could see them challenging most of these clubs they've got to face. They've got the Greek wonder kid Karetsas, who's been lighting it up. Ito has also just returned to his beloved club after spending some time in France. He got exceptional numbers last time he played in Belgium, 15 assists in one season. They also got Stjorkas on the wing, who has provided a good amount of assists already this season as well. The biggest concern I have for them is their back line. They have been conceding way too many goals, and many of their opponents in particular can take advantage of such a fragile situation. I still think they can get 3 wins or so, which could be enough to be fair, but also easily couldn't be. Let's not forget how close the Europa League standings were last time in terms of points and goal difference. Teams with 3 points range from 14th all the way to 26th. Kind of hope I'm wrong on this one. Honestly, it's a very exciting side, but still, they're going to be my one to get heartbroken. Anyway, moving on to the clubs that only just escaped elimination. Let's start off with the one that is almost as unpredictable as the Turkish national team, Ferencváros. I feel like we often never know what we're going to get out of this side. Sometimes they produce some of the most electric, bizarre results. For example, their Champions League qualified campaign. They kept it close against Armenian club Noah in the early rounds and conceded quite a lot. Then defeated Ludogorets comfortably in the second leg, but Karabakh again conceded loads, 5-4 on aggregate. Regardless, I'm blessed to see this side in European football. They're always so entertaining to watch. Last time they finished 17th in the Europa League phase with 4 wins and 4 losses. Always back and forth with each team. And truthfully, I see them on a similar run of form here, maybe just picking up a bit more draws, which would have them drop in the standings. They've just lost their Mali legend Traore, but gained the Nigerian Yusuf, who has been tearing it up in Serbia prior to his arrival. Not to mention their striker Varga randomly turns up in fashion despite Hungary's disappointing last international break. He scored 3 goals in 2 matches. I also don't think they got the worst draw in the world. They have what it takes to go head to head with many of these clubs. One thing's for sure, Roy Keane's got this side playing some fascinating football. I have them just squeezing through. Another team I have just escaping is the Swiss side Basel. Swiss champions last season, starting this one a bit back and forth in form, but they have an incredible team led by a veteran of the game, Xherdan Shaqiri. Their goalkeeper Hitz is also a veteran at this point. Strong back line with Ajeti. They've got a good recent history in European football, making it to the knockouts in the Conference League twice, semi-finals even a few seasons ago. They've got a really difficult draw, but also one where they shouldn't be too fazed by some of these opponents. Really wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, if Aston Villa even drop points to them. At number 22, I'm going for one of the worst teams in the Europa League last season to have quite a redemption story this time around. For them to just make it through to the knockouts, it's gonna be Nice. Seriously, what a shock that was. They did not pick up a single win and were second to last place. I'm still a bit worried for them as they do have quite a lot of injury-prone players, but I believe they can salvage this time and hopefully learn from their mistakes. The lack of depth in the center back department is worrying, so hopefully Bombito recovers, but the likes of Dante still pulling the strings at 41 years old is incredible. Tadem Malfi better stay fit this time, but I also like their winger options, so many players to utilize. 21st place. Now, last time I predicted this side to be amongst the bottom chain, and they nearly got a top 8 spot, finishing 11th with only 2 losses. It's the Romanian club FCSB, stuck with the same manager through thick and thin, Charalambos. And not too many big departures. There's still Captain Olaru and Gazana in the backline, who finally got some minutes for South Africa. Dawa will be injured for some time, but they've got reinforcements like Daniel Gravats. I think the backline will be the key to their success, as last time they got a decent amount of clean sheets to get them to excel in the league phase. And I truly think, based off of their recent performances and last season, they should be able to handle this draw well. It won't always go their way, that's why I have them a bit lower than last time, but they definitely have some favorable opponents and will get the job done, I reckon. 20th place goes to the Greek club Panathinaikos. They're looking to recover from that horrible Europa League run 2 seasons ago. Already did quite well last time in the league phase, last season in the Conference League. 13th place, of course, but could have been better. Tough opponents in their draw, but honestly, they have no excuse for 6 out of 8 of those teams. Surely they'll get at least 4 wins here. One thing that for sure worries me for them is they sold 2 high-quality players to Sporting. They also might lack some quality depth, as a good chunk of their players will not be in the Europa League squad. But they do have some key pieces, like Lafont in goal, who's on loan, Renato Sanchez, who's on loan from PSG, Calabria from Milan, one of the most important Greek players who I don't think gets enough praise at times, Bakasetas. In the attack, there's the underrated gem from Poland, Swiderski. Desser's joining from Rangers, who already proved himself many times in UEFA competitions in the past. Panathinaikos should be okay. They could even finish higher, but I'm going to play it safe and put them at 20th. 19th place goes to a club with a similar badge theme to Panathinaikos. It's Celtic. Now, I am putting Celtic lower than Rangers mainly because of the luck of the draw, but I'm a bit worried for them in European football, as they failed to score a single goal against Kazakhstan club Kairat in the UCL qualifiers, which is ultimately why they're here in the first place. Some of their opponents are known for keeping it cagey and close, Bologna for example, Midtjylland, Sturm Graz I've mentioned already. So they could drop points to these underdogs that they should be going more head-to-head with against, maybe due to the lack of firepower up top. I think they've got some great new signings like Tierney on a free, Ahianacho coming in, interesting replacement for Adam Ida, who's gone to Swansea. I know there's a lot of skepticism on how this club will do with a lot of hostility towards the club's board, but they should squeeze through under Brendan Rodgers. 18th place will be the Danish club Midtjylland. I slept on this club last time, and I definitely don't want to do it again. Last time they finished 20th, meaning they escaped elimination, and I think they only got stronger. Not only did they bring in Croatian defender Erlich and Philip Billing from Bournemouth, their forward Francolino at the moment is in the form of his life. 10 direct goal contributions in 6 matches. Midtjylland were already good at keeping so many of their matches cagey in European competitions, even if they were not successful at the end. They almost never made it easy for their opponents. And their draw, I think, is great. Sucks that they have to travel away for Roma, Roma and Nottingham, but they can honestly handle the rest. Maybe getting more draws than they're liking, but in the end, making it out alive. My only skepticism is that they just appointed a new manager, Mike Tulberg. His only experience really has been at Dortmund youth levels when he was a caretaker for a bit, but I think he has a great crop of players to work with. 17th place, I'm placing my club, Dinamo Zagreb. I could see some bashing me for putting this club way too high or even way too low, but I think the middle ground is totally fair. I'm not a fan of Real Betis, Lille, or Fenerbahce in that drop, but looking at the rest of the clubs, Dinamo should surely win 3 or 4 of those matches and can draw a few of the others. Very interesting transfer window for Dinamo Zagreb though. Bruno Petkovic leaves for Kocaelispor on a free, and the young prodigy Sucic and Baturina have gone to Italy. But now there's Beljo and Vidovic coming from Germany, and the midfield has regained their strength again. But of course, the big signing is the Algerian Benacer. I can't believe Dinamo pulled off a gem signing like that. Just a few seasons ago, he was a gem in the Serie A. Center back improving the depth and options like Scott McKenna from Scotland. Last season was a disaster for Dinamo Zagreb, bottling the Croatian league to Rijeka, being the unlucky Champions League side to not advance, sharing points with Club Brugge in the standings. But in the Europa League, the competition obviously will not be as intense, so I think they can shoot higher. 16th place for me is the La Liga club Celta Vigo. This team has been loving 1-1 draws lately, so I am expecting a lot of cagey affairs in Europe too. I actually think their draw overall is quite difficult, but they shouldn't be discouraged at all with the experience they have. Up top, Iago Aspas is still going strong, captaining this side at 38 years of age, and they also brought in reinforcement Iglesias from Real Betis. They have an energetic and composed back line, along with Romanian keeper Radu, who had many brilliant moments last season with Venezia. Maybe this will be the flop of the tournament with their tough schedule, but I still think they'll have their fair share of success. Their last time in European football, they reached the semi-finals of the Europa League in 2017. So they need to strive to replicate that. A team that some might say I'm putting too high, but I still think they have what it takes to impress, is PAOK. Looking at their schedule, they have some tough opponents, but I think they can get at least 4 wins here. That's the main reason why I'm putting them so high, but they also have a lot of gems that are not talked about enough. Ivanošec's looking to revive his stature at the club after a disappointing spell at Feyenoord. You've even got Lovren at the backline providing loads of experience, but apart from my Croatian bias, Constant Delias is a magician on the pitch. Captain Živkovic, we'll see. This could age badly, but I don't see PAOK flopping here. But one that I would really not be surprised to age badly, as I just don't trust Turkish clubs anymore, is Fenerbahce. This club literally have all the ingredients to succeed, but often continue to disappoint their fans. Jose Mourinho just got sacked from this club after being too honest in his interviews and also failing to get Fenerbahce to the Champions League, losing to Benfica in the qualifiers. His biggest target, Aktürkoğlu, scored the winning goal for Benfica and now joined Fenerbahce. Oh, and don't forget, he used to play for Galatasaray. Anyway, that's still an incredible signing regardless of the history. He is one of the country's best attacking options as well. They've also got Manchester City's Ederson now, West Ham's Edson Alvarez, Marco Asensio, John Duran. A few of these players did pick up injuries but should return within the earlier stages of the campaign. But the biggest question mark is how they're going to do under their new manager Tedesco. This guy unfortunately was not a good fit for Belgium, so his recent resume does not suggest he is the answer for Fenerbahce's recent trophy droughts, apart from the Turkish Cup in 2023. He had a huge falling off with Courtois, so hopefully we don't see some similar events unfold amongst Fenerbahce's more talented stars. I think their squad is strong enough to win majority of their fixtures and at least secure mid-table. They could easily shoot higher and honestly should, but I still see them slipping from time to time. Let's not forget last time they only just qualified for the knockouts, 24th place, the last possible place to finish without getting eliminated. Just in front of them, I'm putting the side to heartbreak Fenerbahce in the knockouts last season of the Europa League. Rangers. The Scottish club, to be honest, does not look great right now. They got decimated to Club Brugge in the Champions League qualifiers just now. 9-1 on aggregate. However, that's the Champions League, right? They always seem to struggle in that competition. They even were one of the worst sides statistically one season. Because when it comes to the Europa League, which they have often qualified for in recent years, within those recent years, they have never gotten eliminated in the early stages. And they sometimes overachieve for their standards, including being finalists back in 2022. Total revamp in certain positions, though they might need some time to adjust. I already mentioned Desser's left along with Igamane, but they acquired Ant-Man, who got an insane amount of assists in the Eredivisie last season, along with Mickey Moore from Tottenham on loan. I'd say given their schedule, if they bottle this, it's really all on them. Most of those fixtures are incredibly doable and can even surprise the Pot 1 teams. Getting closer to the teams that just miss out of the top 8 at 12th place, I'm putting Braga. This club just finished outside the playoff zone last time, unfortunately, but they have seen good success in Europe before, and this season they have a very interesting draw, which we'll take a look at in a sec. Their attack is incredible with the captain Horta on the wing and DR Congo international Banza at center forward. He was just on loan at Trabzonspor and got 24 direct goal contributions in the Turkish league. At the time of this recording, their new manager Carlos Vikens has not lost a match yet either. Anyway, their draw, I wouldn't say it's easy. They could flop here, but they'll want to get revenge against Rangers after 2022. Facing two Scottish clubs as well, that will be a good test. Nottingham will be a challenge, but I still think they can find success in at least half of these fixtures. Moving on to 11th place, I'm giving it to Stuttgart. Quite a rise this club have had recently, qualifying for the Champions League last season, only getting 9th in the Bundesliga though, but winning the DFB Pokal in the process. Their redemption in European football should be a good one, as they got knocked out in the league phase last season of the Champions League. Over there, they randomly surprised with some good results, but also randomly disappointed and dropped points when they just shouldn't have. But within their attack, Demirovic and Undav are great reinforcements. Unfortunately, Undav is injured right now, but hopefully he returns soon. I'm also excited to see the Moroccan youngster El Khanous shape up in the midfield. Looking at their schedule, I would not be surprised to see them defeat one of the Pot 1 teams, but then go on to lose to Young Boys. I might be overestimating this side a bit. It's not the easiest schedule and they're still getting used to playing European football. Their form was all over the place last season, but I think they can rise up in the league phase this time around. 10th place, I'm putting the Italian club Bologna, the side to win the latest Supercoppa Italiana final against Milan. Their manager Italiano loves knockout style tournaments, making it to 2 finals with Fiorentina in the Conference League. Didn't go well in the UCL last season as they picked up only 1 win and too many draws, but like I said, for some of the other clubs with the levels in the Europa League, I think they can adapt better in this competition. Maybe getting too many draws as this side love to play narrow and cagey fixtures, which is why I'm putting them just outside the top 8. It's a shame Ciro Mobile won't be in the league phase squad, but Castro Orsolini and Jonathan Rowe, who can definitely add aggression to the front line, can be dangerous. Skorupski in between the sticks is underrated for me. Lots of incredible depth in the midfield. And the final team to just miss out of the top 8 for me is Freiburg. Yes, I do believe both Bundesliga clubs will pull through in the Europa League, but will just miss out of the top 8. Freiburg started off in pretty poor form this season, but things started to click against Stuttgart. Love to see Igor Mortanovic get a brace, and Grifo is still reliable, who I feel like has been at the club for a while. Leinhardt I always thought was one of the more underrated defenders within the Bundesliga for the Austrian national team, and their goalkeeper Otto Bolo was one of the most informed players between the sticks within the Bundesliga last season. Last season, this side were so close to qualifying for the Champions League until Dortmund redeemed themselves last minute out of nowhere. I think that they could definitely prove that they are one of the stronger teams in the competition. But they do have a tricky schedule ahead, which is why I'm putting them outside. Either way, they're going to shine here surely. Alright, of course, my camera battery died once again once I moved to the top 8, but anyway, let's get into that list. First club for me to make it to the top 8 is Lyon, who finished in the top 8 last time, 6th place to be exact, with only 1 loss. Yes, this club faced a lot of uncertainty at the end of last season in terms of them getting potentially relegated with their financial issues, but now they are back on their feet, obviously with some huge departures though. Like Lacazette, Cherki, Mikodadze, they're all gone. They are definitely not as strong of a squad, but they still have a very decent team. Just signing the underrated Czech attacking midfielder Pavel Suc, legend Tolisso, youngster Fofana. They could drop a bit more, who knows, but the spirits seem to be fine for now. It's obviously a bit risky, but I'm still going to throw them at the top 8, purely based off of experience and the potential story that they might have to overcome. 7th is definitely also ambitious, but I'm still going to rate them highly in this competition. I'm putting Feyenoord. Giving this side some big praise, some might say they'll finish mid-table, but to compensate for my other picks for the Dutch clubs, I think this one will shine. I think they can continue to find their momentum under Robin van Persie. But the biggest reason I'm putting them so high is their draw. I think it's very doable, just might get hard done by the Pot 1 clubs. Japanese forward Ueda has been clinical so far this season. They might have lost the likes of Hansko in the backline, but they gained the Bosnian beast Ahmet Hodzic, who I'm still sad isn't in the national team. It is certainly not the flashiest crop of players we have seen this side possess, but with some of the players being more established within the team, like the Algerian Haj Moussa, I think this team will gain their identity as the league phase goes on, and they will finish in the top 8. And number 6 for me is Lille. Let's not forget they got top 8 last season in the Champions League, which was far from what I predicted. But there is huge skepticism on the surface for this club as they lost so many of their top players. Jonathan David's gone off to Juventus. Zegrova, who was injured for a good chunk of the season, has also gone off to Juventus, but he made his impact for this club while available. Diakite to Bournemouth, and Lucas Chevalier to PSG, replacing Donnarumma. But some new cool signings, I mentioned Igamane from Celtic, Giroud returning to Europe after falling out with LAFC, and there's so many hidden talents on this team from Ayoub Bouadi to the more experienced players like Munir. Despite the huge departures, Lille seem to be fine. They're already European proven, and I think they have what it takes to finish in the top 8. 5th place is the club that I got slammed for not putting in the top 8 last season. They ended up doing even worse than I predicted, but I think they'll do even better in this Europa League phase. Porto. Porto should exceed expectations this time after disappointing last season. I say disappointing as they even lost to an MLS club at the Club World Cup, failing to make it out of that group, but I'm banking on them learning from their mistakes and utilizing their incredible players. Like Samu Agahoa up top, but adding Luke de Jong, an experienced veteran and established himself within European football. Kivior in the back line, he was so reliable at times for Arsenal when they had their injury crisis. Also other underrated pickups like Broja Sainz and Danish youngster Victor Verholt from Copenhagen. I think they got a great draw as well. Pot 1 teams they should feel good about, to be honest. Pot 2 as well. Ironically, Pot 3 looks to be the trickiest for them, but either way, they can get a result against both of those top 5 league teams easily. At 4th place, I'm putting our first Premier League club, Nottingham Forest. Just hiring Inch Postecoglou, nice move in theory as he's just won the Europa League with Tottenham. Imagine if he does it back to back. Tottenham might regret not having him for that 3rd season. Anyway, the club's form has not been ideal since this recording. 2 consecutive 3-0 defeats, 1 to West Ham who have been poor, but I think Nottingham's return to Europe after 30 years will be alright. The squad is still looking great, bringing in some very cool signings. It will be a big test, but we saw how well the Premier League clubs did last season in the Europa League, despite doing so poorly in the actual Premier League. Different type of measurement, of course. It might take Nottingham some time to re-establish themselves after not playing in Europe for 30 years, but I think they'll have what it takes to have a deep run in this tournament while maybe regressing in the Premier League itself, but we'll see. 3rd place will be the other Premier League club, Aston Villa. Many consider them Europa League favorites, but at the time of this recording, this side have not even scored a goal yet in the Premier League, and it's been 4 matches. Horrible sign, obviously, but again, let's not forget who the 2 finalists were last season. 17th and 15th place in the Premier League. I know it's not looking good for Villa at the moment, but I do see them shaping themselves up later on. And we all know how much Unai Emery loves European tournaments, usually making deep runs. It's not a bad schedule whatsoever. If they find their form again, they should take care of each of these fixtures. A good chunk of their midfield is injured right now, but with the new arrivals they brought and Ollie Watkins, who usually gets good numbers, I think they're going to have a decent Europa League phase. In at number 2 is Real Betis, Conference League finalists. They fell in love with their lone player so much to make him one of their own. Such an oddly experienced squad. I mean, Isco, Lo Celso dictating the pace of play, to Marc Bartra with Ricardo Rodriguez in the back line, even Berin. Amrabat just joined as well from Fenerbahce. This team have so much experience and thrive under decisive moments. Clearly already proving their grit in European football last season as well. Like many of the teams we just talked about, their start to the season has not been fantastic, but I think they'll bounce back. And at 1st place, I don't know if they'll win the whole thing, but Roma will be my league phase winners. I know it's been a bit slow for them so far under their new manager Gasperini, but to me, with the quality they possess in their club, it would be criminal if they do not get in the top 8. Once Dybala gets back into shape, hopefully they start rolling out better, but Svilar is one hell of a shot stopper right now. Great fullbacks to utilize Angelino and just acquiring Tsimikas, even Wesley from Flamengo, and in the attack they've added Leon Bailey and Evan Ferguson. And their new manager Gasperini has already won the Europa League after many predicted that they wouldn't even make it so far. Roma have what it takes. They could slip once, but I still see them being at the top. They need to win most of those fixtures they've been assigned. But there you have it, guys. Those are all of my Europa League predictions for the league phase. As always, like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Very tough to pick a top 8 and very tough to eliminate many of these teams, but some had to go, and I cannot wait to see how it unfolds. The competition is only right around the corner, so make sure you subscribe to this channel to stay tuned for all the UEFA competitions and international football with the World Cup so close already. Anyway, thanks again for making it to the end. I will see you all very, very soon. Take care. La cu noite.